Hi everyone! Today I'm going to present to you my analysis of Chapter 13 on Donald Trump, populist or conservative. Donald Trump was exposed to business strategy and real estate from a very young age. His father, Fred, capitalized on circumstances from World War II when the country faced a significant housing shortage as soldiers returned from war, proving to be an incredibly lucrative venture. Donald became Fred's business associate, where he would learn to use property as collateral in order to buy more property and build more property. And both Fred and Donald faced multitudes of lawsuits on the basis of discrimination, partly due to Trump's primarily white environment, and they engaged in countersuing, where Trump learned from Roy Cohn, an attorney who worked for his father, to be ruthlessly aggressive, confrontive, and persuasive. Donald Trump prospered in the Second Gilded Age when President Reagan cut top marginal tax rates from 70 to 28%, cut inheritance taxes, and increased tax loopholes. Trump took advantage of this newfound culture of wealth and began to buy enormous buildings. He desired fame, and he began accumulating wealth as much as a name in the public eye. Trump's role in ultimate victory in 2016 was not his first involvement in politics. In 2000, he made a fake campaign in the Reform Party, running against forefront candidates Al Gore and George W. Bush. Here he devised the strategy to represent alienated white voters who resided in rural towns and cities. This alienation was the result of outsourcing of manufacturing of business to countries such as Mexico, Vietnam, and Cambodia. While Trump did not plan to stay in the race till the end, his strategy of appealing to low-income white voters by promises of infrastructure, ending outsourcing, and evangelicals who opposed abortion and immigration wildly resonated and would become his strategy 16 years later. Trump used tactics employed in other campaigns, but to an immeasurable degree, to secure victory. That includes manipulating the media, such as his welcoming and enticement of controversy. He used the media to divert attention away from investigations with collusions with Russia, his family, and obstruction of justice. He often used intimidation and bullying, which is something Trump admitted to using in school to gain power among peers. He bullied candidates, used negative nicknames against opponents, such as Lying Ted Cruz, Crooked Hillary, and he called these candidates elitist. He also attacked the media and reporters and called people just doing their job the evil, or the fake media. He also used hyperbole and lying, such as exaggerating his achievements, and argued widespread voter fraud at the same time. He used political lies, such as build the wall, repeal and replace Obamacare, and reform trade treaties and create new jobs instantly. And these things didn't happen when Trump took office. Finally, he appealed to his base. He attacked the elites to gain trust and rank with his base, and his aggressive campaign style resonated with low to moderate income voters, and they came to trust him despite having no previous endeavors with supporting social policies to actually help these people. Trump's base and brazen use of campaign tactics is ultimately what led him to winning the presidency in 2016. From a historical context, while a small percentage of people with education, training, and capital easily attained affluence, millions of other Americans had not made gains, and they have even descended down the ladder. Trump promised to support those people. Political gridlock made people want to revolt against the current political establishment, and as the nation became more diverse and equality of opportunity arose for women, LGBTQ persons, and people of color, white people suddenly felt threatened and marginalized. Trump fought against Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, John Kasich, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham, and Rand Paul for the nomination in the Republican Party, and ultimately shot ahead because of his unique style. He copied the slogan, "Make America Great Again" from Reagan, he attacked prior presidents and the existing one, and he proposed foreign and domestic policy with catchy phrases to invoke audience participation and solidarity at rallies. The strategy was very different than Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. She preferred much more intimate settings to discuss issues in depth. She was also believed by experts to have been the victor in each of the debates with Trump and proved she had a greater knowledge of foreign policy from experience. However, his loyal base believed he won, and many resonated with his attacks on Muslims and immigrants. The Trump campaign also capitalized on Clinton's email scandal as Secretary of State being reopened by the FBI Director James Comey 8 days before the election. Trump had alienated many Republicans holding office who resonated with his competitors' policies, such as Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and others. His usage of name-calling and aggressive biased tweeting was not seen as a strength in the party and became an ultimate challenge after victory. He also lacked experience and would have to adjust from being the sole leader of his business to working alongside major leaders and political opposition as well. Republican leaders wanted to try different political strategies with Trump. Moderate Republicans were willing to compromise on more issues like the alternative plan to the Affordable Care Act, while advisor Steve Bannon wished for Trump to lean farther right and essentially maintain a populist structure to disregard moderate Republicans' wishes. Republican politicians had to adjust to a leadership role after becoming acclimated to gridlocking legislation during Obama's 2 terms as well, which proved to be a challenge after victory. In addition to problems with his party, Trump faced governing hurdles as well. He didn't understand time lengths, negotiation, and that the Senate was equal with him and not under his direction. He failed to hire people with proven knowledge, and none of his cabinet selections worked for the public sector. Here are a few examples of the tweets by Trump that proved contentious and problematic. Repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act became Trump's #1 priority stepping into office. He felt that the Affordable Care Act was the cause of the mass exodus of private insurance companies. And his new plan relied on scrapping state exchanges, ending requirements placed on private insurance, terminating the ACA's primary health clinics, ending subsidies to low-income people, ending enhanced Medicaid and CHIP eligibility levels for persons who had not qualified prior to the enactment of the ACA, and relying on free markets. President Trump did not consult Democrats in shaping this legislation or the CBO, which is the Bipartisan Congressional Budget Office. The CBO would later estimated that his new healthcare plan would result in the loss of insurance in 10 years for 23 million people, primarily affecting the seniors and low-income people he promised to champion and protect. I'd like to bring attention to Trump's foreign and domestic policies. He vowed to be restrictive on immigration and distorted realities of immigrants, relied on negative stereotypes to strike fear within people, which did not account for the immigrant reality. Immigrants often work in jobs Americans avoid, increase economic growth, they make scant use of American social programs other than schools, hospitals, emergency rooms, and birthing services for fear of being divulged to ICE, which is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He supported mass deportation, and immigration experts found that this would have dire economic consequences. They also stated that a Muslim ban would actually encourage youth to join terrorist organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda as a symbol of American prejudice against Muslims. And the ACLU had to step in to alleviate panic within immigrant families, educating them of their rights. Trump supporters came from coal country, and others came from areas with large amounts of oil and gas. Trump contended that climate change policies were the cause of loss of jobs in the United States, and he even discredited renewable energy and undeniable scientific evidence of climate change for the sake of gaining rapport with voters. Race and polarizing ideology, a timeline. In 2015, in South Carolina, a self-proclaimed white supremacist killed 9 African Americans in a church following legislature's decision to remove the Confederate flag from the State House. And this caused more contention within the country about what the Confederate flag really meant. In May 2017, Virginia, white nationalist alt-right members wield torches and perpetuate racist chants at the removal of the Lee statue, which you can see pictured behind the words. And in August 2017, only a few months later in Virginia, Nazi Party, KKK members, alt-right, and white nationalists mounted a demonstration at the removal of the Lee statue and faced counter-protests from progressive activists from the University of Virginia. A white man from the supremacist side drove a car into the counter-demonstration, injuring 19 people and killing a 32-year-old white woman. Trump initially condemned the racism and then later retracted that statement to condemn the violence on both sides. In the early 2000s, Trump was a part of the birther movement to discredit Obama's status as an American and of falsifying his birth certificate, and pushed for his removal from office. As president, Donald Trump continued his prejudice against Obama by repealing his hardworking legislation. He supported known homophobes, racists, and sexual abusers for public office, and he never discredited these candidates and their beyond problematic histories and backgrounds. He frequently stereotyped vulnerable groups and supported candidates that were outwardly known for being racist, as much as he mocked vulnerable populations for their struggles while simultaneously blaming them for larger contextual issues. Sexual harassment has always been a problem in the United States, and the culture of silence promotes the use of economic wealth by abusers to keep their victims silent, and Trump is no exception to this. Trump has allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault by many victims, and Roy Moore, a hard-right former judge, ran for U.S. Senate and was accused of sexual harassment, but Trump, fearing his own allegations would come to light and needing Republican votes, decided to not ask Moore to withdraw from the race. However, when a Democratic senator was accused of the same thing, Trump attacked him, which reporters would accuse him of hypocrisy. 307 mass shootings took place from January 1st, 2017 to November 5th, 2017, and Trump blamed those on terrorism and mental illness rather than the specific American fascination with guns and phenomena of mass killing. So, we can learn a lot from the Trump presidency. Social workers, among many others, especially those in vulnerable populations and allies to those vulnerable populations, became policy advocates and members of the resistance. Trump's personal ideologies came in violation to the NASW's Code of Ethics, which really prompted social workers to get out there in the resistance.